Welcome to the Facerocker podcast number 33. This week, Matt, Dez, and myself sit down with Benny and Rafi Fine, the Fine brothers. You may know them as the creators of Kids React or MyMusic. We know them as two cool bros sitting down and talking about our past, our histories, our lives as filmmakers. Did you know that Benny used to be a manager at Disney World? It's crazy. Good stories from that. Also wanted to tell you about something we're doing with these guys, the creators of the Moga controllers. Basically, they're game controllers that you plug into your iPhone or Android. Either platform, it lets you, have buttons and shoulder pads and analog sticks and everything. Finally, you can play phone games and not look totally insane like the guys in our Mobile Squad video did. If you head on over to mogaanywhere.com/RocketJump and use the promo code RocketJump, you are going to get a totally sweet, totally exclusive RocketJump beanie. Anyway, check it out and enjoy this week's podcast. Disney gave you employee gun training.
Yes, for the great movie ride in the Jungle Cruise.
But they're not like...
There's blanks. There's blanks.
But was it like...
They have background checks on the Disney cruise, guys?
Oh my god. Wait, hold on. Wait. But was it like... Because you know how like everything in Disney World is kind of like Disney-fied? It's like real life, but like rounded edges. Just a little smoother, just a little bit nicer, just a little more polite. Was the gun training like that? It's like, so what we're going to do is the assassination stance and...
No.
It was just Florida, Dade County.
When you see the people on the Jungle Cruise that are like shooting it, they're just kind of like the girls are just like, oh, yeah, no, shoot it. Oh, boy.
Yes, I don't think they have...
I didn't get to do all that fun. Well, the most fun job was Tower of Terror. That was my favorite hourly job.
But what did you do there?
Oh, the ride. I worked their ride.
Oh, okay. So you're sitting there being like,
so I'm there. I still
check the seatbelts.
Well, it wasn't that. Well, when I started there, it was all lap bars. There were no seatbelts at the time.
But all you do is just point a camera and just shoot film.
I've always wanted one of the seatbelts to just go out, and then they're like, and then you just close the door and just stare.
A lot of times people would jump back and be like, wait, but I never did that. I was more subtle usually. Or if I'd have to wait, and like I'd be like, all right, see you, thanks for dropping in, and then like move to the side, and then crap, I can't send the lift because the other one's waiting. Then I'll peek my head back in and be like,
psychological
and then I'd be like, well, apparently I have to entertain you for a while. Anyone change their mind? Oh, no, I'd be like, so any final questions? And then usually someone would. And be like, I didn't actually care. It was a formality.
When you check
is it all pre-written material?
Some of it is, but it's a guide. It's not like Jungle Cruise. They started being very specific with it. The Tower of Terror is more, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hollywood Tower Hotel. Oh God, I'm trying to remember.
Do they give you like, here's the premise for this next segment, and you can make it your own?
Yeah.
Or is it like you have to stick to the script?
It depends where you work. Like at the Safari, like you had to stick to the script.
Well, because you never know. The Safaris have different animals at different times.
But, so again, and I still know. I know they've changed it recently, but you need to learn all the animal facts. So I know everything about African animals from working there. Everything. Any other area? No. But African animals, I know all about.
What's your favorite fact about?
About what?
He has a favorite
bongo?
Animal.
What's his favorite animal?
Hold on.
Copy.
About meerkats.
Oh my God, meerkats were at the Pangani Forest Trail. Meerkats have a society where there's a sentry. There's always going to be one meerkat, even in zoos, that is standing up and guarding, and it's going to make a little cry if they see a predator come by.
This is incredible.
There's always a meerkat on sentry.
The entire podcast is just the African animal facts.
I can tell you all about this.
You guys can take that idea. That's a fantastic podcast. And then you get a little jungle tribal music starting, and it's like dun 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 dun, and it's like a safari music going.
That's exactly
what's crazy
what
is the animal.
That's exactly what they want to hear about us.
The animal care people, though, they were such snakes because, like, even though when I was
literally or figuratively,
but I was the manager, and so I'm supposed to know these things. But then you're never supposed to go off book, and you can't give incorrect animal facts. The zoologists like get really mad that they're out with the real animals.
Back up a second. The Disney zoologists, all three of them.
Oh, there's so many. Look, the Animal Kingdom is a zoo.
Can you? Wait, okay, I know. I know it's supposed to be.
The advertising though was not a zoo.
I know.
It's not a zoo.
But can we?
It's a weird thing to advertise.
It really was.
It's not a zoo. Don't worry.
Well, because Walt himself had a whole huge thing about like he hated zoos and he hated like that whole, and that was I think probably
part of it also was people would say I don't want to go to the Animal Kingdom, it's just a zoo, and so they would try to say it's not the zoo, it's much more than just the zoo.
So they have to say that the accent.
Well, it was an African guy in the commercials. They would go, oh, it's not a zoo. He really did.
We guys around the table cracking up.
We have to find this clip.
I guarantee you it's on YouTube. NAHTA is like it was spelled like an African word.
way.
Yes,
man.
not a zoo.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, can you clear
not a
up
zoo, it's
with
Animal
your
Kingdom.
copious Disney experience? Could you
We
clear
need to
up
go to
some
Disneyland
questions?
together.
I
You were
know
like-
because
We do.
yeah, because you keep. By the way, you keep telling me this.
I
You kept-
know.
You're like every
For
single
years.
time. You're like, oh, I got stories, man. Like
I
every
do
single
have
time.
stories.
But I
It's
do. I want
insane.
something cleared up. Okay. What? Okay.
Oh God,
They
what is
say
it? What
it's a
myth
zoo,
is this
and they
gonna be?
say that
Okay.
it's a working zoo. They got zoologists and doing research. What actual research? Because I've never seen like Science came out with a paper today from the Disney zoologists who revealed
Well,
that it's like the
well,
behavior.
it depends.
It's like nothing.
They're
The-
not actually
the-
doing research.
The
there.
animal, yes, they are. The animal care
On
team
what?
is.
What do you know?
Like Disney, the Animal Kingdom, I believe. Oh, what's the number?
What's it matter anyway? Next.
I just got to go for free for like 10 years, so that's all I care
That's
about.
amazing.
No, there's been more successful elephants like bred in captivity and white rhinos at Animal Kingdom than any other zoo in the country. Like,
Why don't they need to make a? Well, they can't make a big deal of that. They're like,
They
hey,
talk about it like it was a big deal when we shipped a white rhino back to the wild or something, and like the Living Seas, the aquarium that I also worked at for a while there, they like rescue manatees get injured on the coast of Florida and they get rehabilitated at the Living Seas. Like so
You
they
worked
really
there for 10 years?
parts of 7 years full time, 3 years seasonal.
You can tell. You can just tell. Even 2.5 years, I still have that like Disney like. You have the whole Disney vibe. Like if somebody comes out of Warner Brothers, they're not like, dude, Warner Brothers actually like if you work at Disney, you got the
theme
Kool.
parks.
You got so much of the Kool-Aid for so long.
He's like multiple times through this conversation he has said we.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's
Like,
like,
I've been going, we have the most white rhinos, Brad.
you never
But there's
leave
such horrible
Disney.
stories too at the same time. Like there was why can't I remember his name? It was everyone's favorite giraffe. He'd been there forever, and this is gonna be really sad in a second. But it was this giraffe.
Jeffy the giraffe.
Oh God, what was his name? It was very African.
Michael.
Oh well, but I ended up finding out about it.
Very
that they
African.
shipped. It was like zoos trade animals all the time. Blah blah blah.
It's like
It was
Pokemon.
no, that was the yes. But on his
That's
way.
exactly what it's like.
On the
Fancy
trip
zoo.
over, like the main giraffe from Disney's Animal Kingdom died, broke its neck traveling. And
Like
we
The
were,
Hangover.
we were all devastated. It's horrible. And there's 2 gorillas that I worked with that are now in the Los Angeles Zoo.
Oh, no king. Do
Yeah.
you visit them? And
I
then
went-
they're like,
I went
yo,
once.
what's up?
He totally flipped out and was like, we have to take pictures. I have to send it back
I
to
did
all my
send them
friends."
back. And when I went,
And I took pictures.
and then when I went back, all the pictures I took were hanging up in the break rooms because all the animal care people was like, oh, because they were born
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
It's a big deal. I will see those 2 gorillas forever, and they don't remember me, but I
What
remember
happened
them.
when the draft died? Like, how did they announce
Well,
it to
it was all.
everybody?
It actually became a new.
They bring everybody in.
Well, it became a news story.
Speakers come out.
It became a news story that was a little bit national in terms of
Oh,
a
yeah,
giraffe
yeah.
died on the way, and then it got back to me. It wasn't here, like, oh no, not. And I used to know his name, but not. I was like, not that giraffe.
I like
the other draft.
I like the idea of like we're calling a meeting, and it's like all the Disney employees are like sitting like, "What's this about?" Dude? Shh, oh, it's coming. And like Mickey Mouse waddles on stage, like, and he slowly takes off his head,
Oh,
and
God.
it's like Bob Iger underneath.
You know what did happen once when I was working Phantasmic crowd control? So there's the springboard in the beginning where like Mickey will fly up from the bottom, and then the pyrotechnics come out of his fingers. I don't know if you've seen Phantasmic, but he flew up and
is
well,
quite a sight to behold.
No, but after that description, I absolutely have to.
so he flew up, and it's always she that was inside of it, but flew up and then landed and tore like all the ligaments in her knee.
Whoa.
And this was like right in front of all the guests, and the show
Whoa.
started, and it's like, and then down goes, and Mickey's down. And then Mickey goes down. Everything turns off. The house lights go on, and they end up, and this is how it is. They're giving aid to Mickey. Will not take the head off.
No, you can't.
So it's lying on the side, and then like a football game, Mickey's like giving the thumbs up. as they
Everyone
take him away,
applauds.
they take him away, and the show was canceled for the night. Everyone was pissed, and then a coworker of mine got fired because when people were asking what happened, it's like Mickey died.
no
Said the cast member, and then got fired.
Oh,
Jeez.
yeah,
You can't say
Yep.
that. You can't say that.
Mickey died.
You're not allowed to say that as a joke. Like anywhere in Disney.
And there's only
All
one
of us
Mickey.
just said, we're like, that's over the line.
There's only one Mickey, guys.
Right.
There's only one. I remember when we so many stories. When we opened Mission Space, we had Space Mickey and Space Goofy, but the monorail is an aisle shot of certain areas of the ride.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it became they had to move him way inside, interfering with our line horribly. But why? Because you can't risk seeing Mickey at the Magic Kingdom, then on the same
like time
monorail
travel.
trip,
Oh, no
seeing
kidding.
Mickey there.
It's like
Never are allowed.
It's a mono Mickey experience.
Yeah.
Two Mickeys are getting close to each other.
Can't let it happen.
What would you do?
And when you go to Mickey's house in Toontown, there's 3 doors, but you always go through one door, but you might go through a different door every time because if you opened all 3 doors, 3 Mickeys are in there.
So what if you took
magic.
a phone with Skype and like video chatted Mickey, and they're like, "Oh, my friend is in the other side of the park too," and then they turn their phone to their Mickey with like 3 Disney like suited employees just like fingers to their earpieces, just like, "So, we got situated. Code blue. Code blue."
No, that's a paradox.
Well,
That's
but-
a paradox in the space-time continuum.
But apparently
of
they're
just
not very good at these things. When the Escape from Tomorrow movie somehow got filmed completely inside
Yeah,
the theme parks.
that's
Did you hear
insane.
about that?
That's right,
Yeah,
yeah.
like somehow they didn't realize a movie was being made.
So believe it or not, the guy who did sound design for Video Game High School is the guy who also did sound design on that movie.
I don't believe it.
It's the second. That's ridiculous.
Why would I believe it?
Someone else that I just there's a makeup person that was working on someone's shoot that was like, I was
Oh,
the
yeah.
makeup for that movie. Like, well, who was working on this thing?
Yeah,
They had like a legitimate crew?
Yes, and
Yeah,
the
legit,
stories
yeah.
you hear, they're like running and hiding in various places and then running out and
I
having to
just
get
thought they
their
were
lines in
very
certain
like
ways.
amateur thrown together.
And they had to
thing.
film it in well, I haven't seen it yet. And I'm sure it
Yeah.
is what it is. But I remember even hearing they'd have to film one side of the coverage on one day and the sun
Yeah,
would be in a
yeah.
different spot, so they'd have to go back out to do it the other side. But I'm just like, how do you not notice? Like how do you not notice a
Yeah.
movie's being
Well, what
made?
it was so they laved up everybody before they
Right,
got in.
and the
right?
cameras don't look like
Labbed up.
cameras.
Yeah,
So
That's a verb.
And they would, and also they would say things like, I remember he was saying that they would just sit on Small World to get like a segment for that. They just did 8 times and nobody cared.
see, and that's
Like,
the thing. Well,
they
see,
just didn't
that's so
care.
funny
Most
because
boring
now I
rides.
worked at
They're
It's a
like
Small
20
World.
minutes long.
And I probably, you know what? I probably wouldn't have noticed or said anything if someone was just writing it over and over and over again. There were the people that did that. There were people
Yeah,
that,
it's like that's just the Disney.
well, there
dude.
is this guy. There's this guy Kenny.
Oh, God.
Who would ride?
Oh, right,
who rode?
Kenny.
He rode Mission Space
That
every single day.
bastard.
The entire. He would come to the park morning to night and just ride Mission Space until morning to night, morning
Whoa,
to night,
really?
morning to night,
That's
morning to night. And then we realized he would keep track and be like, it was his 500th ride, and we got him like a prize, or like a
Whoa.
Wait,
picture.
is this like an employee or
No,
just like a
no.
crazy
it's a
Guy,
guest.
his
But now
friends are the
he now
people that
works
work
at the
there.
park somewhere. But there was a biker guy that came that did the same thing at the Rock and Roller Coaster, and to the point that people would just let him in without waiting.
To be fair, Rock and Roller Coaster is a good one though.
Pretty
Like,
rockin'.
it's pretty rocking.
Oh God, I'm trying to remember because all of my spiels over there too. I was a horrible cast member there. That was back
Real
before I
quick-
cared.
Cast
by the way,
member.
yeah, cast members. It's a perform. Yeah. Oh, Rock and Roller Coaster. The little video with Aerosmith
Yep.
at the beginning. Ken Marino is
Yes, he's the guy.
is the
he's
guy.
the
and
DJ.
you're,
guy.
and you're sitting there, you're like, dude from Party Down.
And Ileana Douglas.
It's weird.
Yeah.
And she goes, hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing?
Oh my gosh. This is.
And
this
then
is
Steven
quite
Tyler
impressive.
gives the shocker symbol.
Oh, that's
That
right.
was the most I've ever learned about Disney.
I can
Yeah,
go,
this
we
was
need
like
to stop.
a-
I can go on and on.
That was-
Never
This was a
ending.
Disney.
Never ending.
This was like a Disney info dump in like a single, just just it was ridiculous. That was like, yeah. Anyway,
So you went to Disney. Where did you go to college?
I went to college at first at Dickinson College, and then in Pennsylvania, then at Hunter College in New York City.
He was a college baseball player at first.
Yeah.
whoa,
That's what I thought I was going to do
Position.
first. Outfield. Right field.
I cut the ball sometimes. It came at
Some
me.
people hit it to me sometimes. But yeah, that was the original, like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. And then, like, quickly was like, oh, this is just awful. Like, when you get to college, it becomes way too serious. And it's just like this. And you also realizing you're not as good as you hoped you were going to be.
When every person is
Yeah, everybody
as
else is as good as you.
Yeah.
And you're
It's
just like, wow,
like
this
it's
is not
like when
gonna happen.
Halo went online for the first time, and you start
like
playing, and you're just like, wow, I thought I was good, but turns
He's like,
out
I thought this is what I wanted to do. But
no,
it's
not even close, not
close.
even close.
And then became a filmmaker. It's just like, hey, there could be a bunch of us. And then the internet showed up, and it was like, oh shit, everybody kind of sucks on here. Nobody's a
'cause you
filmmaker
guys-
almost at all on this place.
You guys
Yeah,
are old
because
school.
to be fair, you
We're
guys are
10
like,
years into this digital web.
Yeah, here's
Yeah.
by the way, just as I don't know if you guys know this, but this is how old school these homies are. when we were first getting courted by the multi-channel networks, Maker sends an email out of the blue to us, and we're like, okay, yeah, sure, we go in and talking to him. And they interviewed us, and they were the guys who were like having questions
We've been
and bouncing them
everywhere.
off.
You guys were at Maker?
They were at
yeah.
Maker, and they interviewed Brandon and me for like, and we were like, hey, so what do you think about this and that? And they were just like, yeah, okay. And I was like, answering questions, and I was like, it was so weird.
Yep.
It was an interesting time, but it was because at that time we were maybe 100,000 subscribers, but it wasn't really about at that time period when we were there.
Yeah.
It wasn't about our channel much anymore, and it wasn't, and even the idea of what is now known as a multi-channel network was not.
No, that wasn't even
was
a
not
thing.
even the original plan.
I will say-
and was not what we
It's like
envisioned for it to become.
9 channels.
And but
Yeah.
we were running production and creative for everyone that was over there in the beginning, and then you guys became a oh my god, who are these guys type thing. But that was towards the end of our time there. Not
That's
too
right,
long
you
after that we left.
shortly
Yeah.
after
Which
that.
was an interesting time to even talk to you because
know,
we were kind of like,
because
We weren't quite telling you everything. We were like, I don't know.
you guys even be like, can we talk to you guys like off the like, can we talk to you guys like, just in a phone call outside of the office? And we were like, I don't know if we can do that.
Well, I will remember. What I do remember that is they were right next to. Makers moved their offices like they do it like every few months. It's ridiculous. But they were right by the Costco in Playa del Rey, and it was like just like 1 block away. And I remember going in and being like, "Yo, it's lunchtime. Y'all want to get some Costco pizzas and some hot dogs?" And like the entire office was just like, "What? What's that?" I'm like, "Costco. It's right across the street. Get some pizza and hot dogs. Cheap. It's like $1.50 for hot dogs." So everyone's like, no, it's okay. I'm not fucking.
Well, they're probably weird out because you didn't work there and you just burst in and yelling, "Hey, let's go to Costco!"
Well, their reaction.
Let's go to the supermarket across the street for lunch.
What is he doing?
That reaction, I was just like, screw this place. These guys are all squares. Non-Costco loving dudes and dudettes.
How did you get to film in the first place? Were you film guys or you're like?
I guess the quick story, early on.
shows
This was what in the '80s, but we, those little cassette tape recorders that you're supposed to take notes on, like mental, like note to self type stuff.
Yeah.
So my dad had one of those
piano lessons on those.
Yeah. So
that I could review that.
I recorded Simpsons episodes. So I could listen
Just
to
the audio?
Simpsons, just the audio, and Rugrats.
Wow.
Whoa.
And Rugrats.
I watched the Rugrats.
The
and Simpsons.
brilliant scripting of Rugrats.
Rugrats, the first 4 seasons, up until the movie, is amazing.
What about the cartoon they did when they grew up?
Not as good. Yeah,
That's nerdier than me. Jeez.
Really? You never recorded?
We used that to do chipmunk voices and talk really slow. And play that bit aside.
Awesome.
But I would take those and I loved Big Trouble in Little China. It was my favorite movie as a kid. And so Jack Burton, Kurt Russell would always be talking into his CB. So I would pretend I was him. And then that turned into interviewing everyone on our block, which turned into I'm doing voices on this thing and doing a little show on this tiny recorder.
Yeah.
Then fast forward a little bit, used my bar mitzvah money to get all this audio equipment, and I made all these long. Sometimes it was just talk radio with me doing like 4 characters and roping him to do it too. Yeah. Sometimes it was music and it was like countdowns and like it was all radio show world. Then we got a video camera, and then it became sketches. And we recently
what was the first video camera?
It was a VHS-C camera.
Ooh,
so like you put the little tape into the VHS player.
Great, very nice.
Awesome.
So we had that. We made a lot of stupid little things.
2 VCR heads.
Well, that came later, but I did do that, and I even
go to college for a little bit.
Some of the TV production classes I took, I ended up doing It was like VCR to VCR to camcorder, and then I would somehow get the old Mac Performa that I had, the Mac Performa 575, to hook up to the VCR so I could do titles and like open AppleWorks and like get a giant like title screen to go.
What's crazy is that like just thinking about how that would work right now with all of our copious knowledge.
It's wild.
I can't even imagine how that works. How would you get a computer to talk to a VCR?
And why did we do it? And it's also the type of thing I look back being difficult. Like, how would I ever do that? And I remember learning the hard way, like, man, you better make a copy of this VHS tape before you start editing because you'd be off, because you'd even set it and it would still be a second off, and then you lost that second of footage forever. Because I'm like, I should have made a copy of that before I edited this whole entire thing. Then it would take. And even now you say editing takes forever even now, but that really took forever. It was like, I
remember, you know what it was? Because I remember tape-based stuff, like mini DV stuff, and being like, all right, log and capture takes an hour. Set it to go get some food.
Hope it works. But when you come back and stop when your time code was wrong, and then it's like recorded the same thing 7 times.
And then I remember thinking very distinctly, being like, if there's only a way to just get these clips on the computer, how much easier would that be? Oh, well. And then now that it is that way, it's like, it's still like, oh, well, I mean, at the time, I'm like, well, I'd have no excuse. I could just edit right away. It would be so much faster. Now it's like you have the clips check. I guess I could drag this folder over to this folder, I guess. Fine.
Oh, the load time of that moving into that.
Yeah, exactly, right?
What were we talking about?
Seconds.
Oh, right, how we got into film. Right, so right from there...
I mean, you could skip. I mean, we ended up basically always making stuff with like all of our action figures. We made a bunch of feature films with our action figures, and then we made a live action feature. And pretty much we got into wanting to do even live action through Kevin Smith. It was watching Clerks and like the low budget stuff and getting in film festivals, and everybody critically acclaimed. We were like, well, like we could maybe do that because we're already doing stupid shit. Like we love that humor. Why not make something? And so we ended up making a live action feature
that got into some small comedy festivals. And we realized immediately this is the worst way to try to break. It's not going to work. We know no one. It was obviously very different from the Kevin Smith Film Festival experience, and that was in 2000. We made it in 2000. It was 2001 when that was in a few film festivals, and then we split up. I ended up down at Disney, and then he went to film school.
It was like Macho Man. Hulk Hogan just splitting up.
The mega powers exploded.
Exploded.
Everybody separated.
Bad.
But we were figuring out what are we going to do? What's next?
Yeah.
And it was, even in 2002ish, we were like, it's going to be the internet, but we don't know how to do that yet. And so we figured out over the next 2 years how to do that, decided to retrofit and reshoot and rewrite the action figure features that we had made, thinking it was niche and different.
But
And
we're completely like, why we even thought like that was possible and what could we do and how cool could that be was from looking at like Homestar Runner and like
Homestar
Channel
Runner.
101. And we were like, oh wow, there's something new here. It's new media. You know, like this is like not a passive experience. This is like we can all engage and we can do cool shit around our content.
Yeah.
And so that was the idea, to take the feature films, break them up, but put them around in this whole universe.
yeah, it was way too early. It was transmedia before transmedia existed. It was like our website that we had all the QuickTime files, hosting all of our files.
So
and
you were hosting on your end?
Yes, and hoping.
How much was that?
Well, we basically never let ourselves pay more. We just let our site
that's
go
what
down.
happened. The site would
over
go
and
down. And that was we timed
Never
releases to try to be
tried.
towards the end of month so we could carry over into the next month. So if we
Because I would
because-
get on the phone with them and I'd be like,
They'd be like,
hey, you know, one of our videos are going viral right now. Like, you know, like it wasn't called viral. But like one of our videos
getting
is like getting
popular.
a lot of...
Big.
and they're like,
People are
it's going to
coming-
cost like $6,000 to get more. And it's like,
It's just
what?
like,
It's
Well,
just
I'll
Harry
be
Potter
down
toys.
for 3 more weeks. I don't care.
So that
Fuck
would
it.
happen here and there. But it was you'd watch it in the general. It was G.I. Joe. Hasbro shut us down after a while, for real. But it was the general's office, and like we had all this animation made where like the screen came down and then
You
it
would watch it
zoomed
on
in, so
it.
you're watching in his office. You could read a newspaper in
whoa.
between the month of the episode coming out
There's
to find
a
out what's happening.
voicemail that you could listen to
And
from all
then
the characters.
and then when MySpace came out in the middle of all of this, I feel like the first month MySpace was there, every single G.I. Joe had a MySpace. We were doing that idea that we still do now, all the way back then, so you could be
But
friends with all the characters. Nobody
understood what
No.
what we were wanting to do.
What are you doing here with
Yes,
this?
and then it was what it was. But it took us. It was ridiculous. That project it took over a year to make the trilogy. It was 3 hours and 20 minutes of action figures shot, not stop motion, shake-mation we call it, where essentially you don't
It's
see
the
our
same
hands.
as our Lost parodies.
The same as the
They were
Lost
just
parodies. Yeah,
filmed
it's like,
on
hey, how's it
camera.
going? But it was to scale, so we built all these little sets, and we're 3 3/4 in scale. We're lying in the
And you
dirt, like for months and
It was
months and
nuts.
months. I mean,
It
it
was
took
nuts.
like 2 weeks to record the audio. Like it's still.
Yeah.
It was a good time. That series, it's sort of lives on, sort of.
Yeah, it's out there on the web.
Some people
obsessed
find
fans,
it and
yeah,
like
are still out there.
what's great, I'll even talk about, people are gonna go search for this now. It's very, very dirty in comparison to anything we do now.
Hasbro shut us down for a reason. I mean, we were doing some
But
crazy
someone
stuff
found
with
it
their
and
toys.
uploaded it not too long ago on YouTube, the full 3 hour plus
Whoa.
version. And because when we got cease and desisted, I'll just tell the story. We got cease and desisted, they gave us like 10 days to take it down. And so we did, but we like
Told
blitzed
all
the
of
internet,
our
told everyone to
fans, like,
download
download
it,
it.
and we
Here
then
it is.
and we threw
Yes.
it onto torrenting sites.
Yes.
And so it's
Great.
still occasionally people find it there, and they said they found one person seeding it, and they downloaded it over the course of who knows how long, and then uploaded it to
Put it
YouTube.
back
And I
there.
think this description was like long before they did React. They did the greatest thing the internet has ever had, G.I. Joe: The Epic Saga. But the way it's titled makes it seem like it's the G.I. Joe real movie sequel. So that has
how
like
many views it has,
250 or
yeah.
300,000 views, and there's all these dislikes, and they're like cursing. I hate. What is this shit? They're all like so angry.
Oh my gosh.
And
So that actually is kind of bad that they actually like the real G.I. Joe movie more than I don't know
But in
about
a way, though, you've gotten your revenge on them, haven't you? Right?
Hey, I mean, whatever. It was what it was. I still love that thing, though. Looking back, I'm like, why did we do some of that stuff?
Some of the
But it was
humor
like,
was
you can do whatever
really
you want.
bad.
It's the internet.
that. Yeah.
Hey guys, how's it going? Jimmy Wong, aka Ted from VGHS here, telling you to check out shop.rocketjump.com. We've got brand new merchandise like iPhone cases and iPad decals to shirts, Blu-rays, and posters, including brand new Season 2 designs from our friends at Danger Brain. There's also the incredibly popular VGHS hoodie, and some of our older shirts are on sale for a great price. So make sure you check it out right after this podcast at shop.rocketjump.com. Thanks so much, guys.
It's one of those things where, well, I mean, it's one of those things where, because you guys mentioned something that I hear a lot sort of early on from people doing videos, which is the hosting and what do you do with this and how do you even display it and put it out there. And I think I'm curious, how did you guys find like YouTube? What was the first YouTube experience?
Ooh, you know,
It really started as like looking at just popping onto this website because there were just a bunch of these websites that were showing up that were having hosting.
That's right.
embedding changed a lot. Like the idea of
That
being
was
able to embed
ridiculous,
was like,
yeah.
oh my god, like we don't have to host anymore. But then it still became became the thing of like, but you don't want.
But you still need to download Real Player.
God, I hated
Well, I remember us sending physical tapes to Atom Films before they were bought by Comedy Central and iFilm, and you'd send them tapes to get submitted, hope they would put you up on their website.
And it's like originally like the Lonely Island, they were big on iFilm, like their first big place that they were big on. And we were like, oh man, we got to get our.
And then Rever was the thing we all adopted earlier than YouTube because that was the first thing that paid anything.
If they clicked at the end of Rever, you got like a quarter, and it was like, whoa, that's insane. But I remember YouTube just being like, you went there and it was just like upload home movies.
That was YouTube beta,
like,
I think.
The idea of the homepage. They didn't think of it any more than that. And then first time that I fully thought, okay, we should do something about this YouTube, because we were already a top 10 comedian.
Well, that's
on
the
MySpace.
thing. At the time, you have to realize that like YouTube was getting bigger, but MySpace was bigger or an equal length at one time to them in terms of video views.
Gigantic.
And
you could get so many views on MySpace.
Music too. Music views out of control on MySpace.
And so there was a million YouTubes that all had decent viewership at the time. VO, Grouper, that is now Crackle. And God, what else was around? Dailymotion, which is still around, was a pretty decent place. There was
Dailymotion. I love that Dailymotion basically turned into the like, and this is where you get the Russian dash cams and the people dying. If you want back, we got you covered.
Dailymotion.
But all those things were there, and YouTube was just one of many. And so we were on every single site for all that time.
Yeah.
And then we were like, and even looking at the time with YouTube and some people that had gone there earlier than we did, there was still that feeling of, but this is our website. And we had a decently trafficked website back in the day. And we're like, if we're going to send everybody to YouTube, then they're not coming to our website. So we were a little bit late to adopting it until, and I'll let you take it from there.
Until the twofold thing of one, seeing again the Lonely Island, because we were just kind of watching them and seeing what was going on. And we saw that YouTube like was starting to feature them in various ways and getting them on their homepage. And it was resulting in not just a lot of views, but this thing called subscribers that like all of a sudden was resulting in when they would put up another video, people would watch it. And so when we started to go, okay, how does that work? We put up a video there and we'd be like, okay, let's see, and we'll market that, try to get people to go back to our YouTube page instead of our website. And people started subscribing, and we were like, well, when we put up another video, what happens? We were like, oh crap, there's like all these people that come back and watch your video. And that was a huge difference, because everywhere else, the whole point before YouTube was really big, the point wasn't to make content necessarily for your audience, because there was no way to keep an audience. That function didn't exist.
Right.
In MySpace, it did a little bit. But it was, I'm going to market this by what is the editors of all of these websites going to want to feature, and then I can get 1 million views on VO, I can get 1 million views on MySpace, but if my next video comes out and they don't put me back on the homepage, 0. Kind of like Yahoo.com now. But that's
how history repeats itself to those who not study its machinations.
And so YouTube was, whoa, if we actually get a hit here, we don't need to get featured at all.
People come back.
People are there, and we start actually growing fans. And that's also where it became a shift of like, because at the time also there was all these sites that were paying some people for content, and it was like, wait, and after a while it became, this doesn't make sense anymore, we're just helping their brand versus I should be taking this time to make content for myself to grow our audience. And a lot of our peers at the time that got bigger deals than we did, and I would say that it's a blessing in the past, because we would always be frustrated being like, we've been around, we have the same views or better, and like, why do these people get the huge Sony deal? Why did we only get a pilot with Adam.com? Why didn't we have a full series? But due to going through that experience, we kept our YouTube going. Well, a lot of our peers got that deal, were getting money pre-partner program and stopped YouTube. Well, and a lot of those guys are still directing and doing things for other people now, but they've lost their own audience.
So I'm always curious about this because you guys were around like sort of the .com. Well,
no, it was a little after.
But here's my question, right? What were those deals like? How much were they?
Well, it depends. The first,
like as in if you were going to make like a series,
it depends.
With Crackle.
Let's go earlier.
Adam?
The first things we ever were paid, we were paid $250 to do something in 2005
for Heavy.
For Heavy.com. And it was the Burger King thing, wasn't it? The Burger King where we flipped off all the fast food restaurants.
Yep. Shit, I remember that video.
I was the Burger King.
In like a bathrobe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was me.
That was old internet.
Yeah, that was me.
Dude, we're digging deep right here, man.
That was $250 with Heavy.com.
And then Break a long time ago paid around $750.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
and that's what they were at.
Owned you.
That was Britney Spears.
That's a whole other story. That's a hard video to find.
I've made sure of it.
But then Break started paying more, but then they owned the video. It was a weird thing. Shifted.
Yeah.
But then it depended where you were. Super Deluxe, which was Turner's thing for a while, they were just flush with money for a while,
so much money.
And they just were paying way too much for content. And I feel like it was even.
And they were always giving the money out to comedians, up and coming alt comics, like people that were just, who knows, they might be the next big thing, but they're not there yet. So they'll just give them like $10,000 a video.
It ranged on the low end, if it was sketches and stuff, like to $2,000 a video, to the high end of $10,000 to $15,000 a video.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the range is.
If it was like a series.
Well, not in 2005, but around, we're talking like 2007-ish. Like 2007, well, they were all trying while YouTube was rising. YouTube got bought, right when YouTube got bought by Google is right when that was kind of happening a lot. And Crackle was financing huge amounts of shows when Sony bought Grouper.
I forgot. What was like Ben and Way? What was the...
Well, Bantamway was like
I know, but that was a
Lexus-sponsored thing.
Like
I forget how much it was. They never tell you for sure.
I remember hearing things like Adam Films early on was doing ridiculous permanent rates. Like it was something like, correct me if I'm wrong, for the series on Adam was something like, it was in the grands per minute, which was like crazy.
For the right comedian,
right.
That they were doing it with.
Because that was right when Comedy Central bought it. So like there was all this idea, and Disney had a whole thing called Stage 9 that they put millions of dollars into that never even went anywhere. They had like one show that ever aired.
Oh well, do you remember they even put it? They had squeegees that they put on the YouTube homepage because they made a deal with YouTube to get it onto the homepage. And that thing was just like I don't even want to know how much money. That was way more than even that. They were making like television shows on the internet. They were thinking.
Typically, even now they don't.
They
don't know how to get audience for it. They don't know what they're doing, and it was just trying to put what is it, square hole in a round, whatever. I don't know that expression.
Square peg
in a round hole. I don't know.
Triangle.
The wrong size thing and the wrong size.
History
orifice.
does kind of endlessly repeat itself, though, when it comes to people coming in from more traditional companies, putting a lot of money into people thinking, oh, if all of us can do it, then if there's some person that's established
a writer from television,
then they're going to knock it out of the park, and they don't realize that they should be partnering with us if they want to try to do something like that, and not in the use way, and like let's maybe make something together. Otherwise, give us the money.
But again, it's kind of been an odd blessing because we've all had to kind of figure out how to do it our own way and not be leaning on them, or because again, all the peers of ours that were in that situation ended up losing a lot of power or not having that steady ability to produce content compared to, I think, what the handful of us have been able to do as production companies to move forward, make what we want, and try to get some of that power back into our own hands.
And I guess that's the question now that I feel like we've even talked about. It's like, where does this go for what we're all trying to do beyond being able to do one video game high school or one MyMusic versus multiple that we all want to be doing all the time.
Because we were talking about, you guys came to the set and we were talking, it was actually the first time
we
met. I think just you.
It's just me,
I met you later. But yeah, it was very much about that. And I think we even talked about like what's your end game, and you keep talking about control and having that stuff, and that's the same thing. Like I remember back in the day when you and Brand were first starting, it was always audience before like the initial money, like always build a subscriber before then, and so on. So what do you guys see going forward? Like, is the plan then to try to jump into traditional media, or continue to wait as traditional media starts flowing into our world?
We always like for now we're firm believers in both. We want to have shows on television while we're also making TV shows on...
And choosing what things would be
online.
Something we'd pursue television for versus, no, this would make more sense to not do or not give up as much control over. Because that's really even the thing where it's a great place to be in the sense of like, I really love this, I want to control this idea, forget it, versus, you know what, this is a great idea.
Yeah, there's definitely ranges of your own projects. So you're like, we can let this one go.
Exactly. And it's still going to be great. And it's not like we don't love that project, but it's like, it's not the same thing.
Somebody else can go and like
you don't only have one idea.
Right, exactly.
The benefit,
But so that's become, it's just so tough. Like
we believe that at least with the way that the power shift is right now, or even where audience is right now, I like outside of like what you guys have been able to accomplish with VGHS, like I'd say more of outside of that, because the numbers there are like incredible, where
whatever you guys notice, like in terms of long-form narrative content online, with the exception of what you guys have done, there's no precedent. Like it's you guys, and then people that have done okay. Like and so.
That's one thing that we admire about you guys is that you have the very similar idea of wanting to create good quality long form, I wouldn't even say traditional, just storytelling,
right.
in a real narrative way on the internet, as opposed to, I feel like a lot of web series are more or less, they're either IP, they're like, hey, let's do a Halo and a Mortal Kombat thing, and not to diss those projects, they all have their own reasons for existing. It's stuff to fault thing that's clearly designed as a marketing device. It's not a traditional. It'd be like, oh, Mortal Kombat's not a good TV show. It's like, well, because frankly, it's not really TV. It's a thing to
kind of
pump up
it's
Mortal
kind of
Kombat.
try and pump up this Mortal Kombat thing so they can do a movie. Yeah.
Yeah, there's this very because still the cost. I mean, you guys know for MyMusic, the even doing it cheaper, the cost of doing something like that is so massive.
Yes.
Not to mention time cost. If you're talking about actually writing and actually trying to take
the beginning
time.
to end, it's never ending. And again, for the economics that all of us are playing in, that to the average person that doesn't really get it thinks, and that's why I love that you have your breakdowns that you have. But even then, when you look at the breakdowns, people probably still look at it and go like, "What? That costs that?" And then you're like, "What do you mean that costs that? That costs this compared to what it really costs? Are you crazy?"
People don't
For
understand
years,
that.
we were. I mean, for all the way through production, we're like, it's 6 episodes, 3 minutes each. 6 episodes, 3 minutes each. The 6th episode comes out. Like half the comments are like, "Dude, Freddie, you're so freaking lazy. What the hell? 6 episodes for all that money?
Yeah.
Like, how could you only make 6? Make
And
another one for us now." It's like
Wow.
one. It takes a year. We don't make one.
Well,
in
then
a
there's the
week.
occasional great comments where they're like, "Hey, so
just
next
like-
week for that episode, I want to see a story from this and this." It's like,
next
what are we doing here?
No
How
problem.
are we
We're
doing
shooting it
this?
week to week.
Yeah,
no
we
problem,
write
no
them on
problem.
Monday
We'll
and
crank that
Tuesday.
out.
We shoot on Wednesday.
See, that's
we
what you do.
edit.
But see, that's
That's
what
why
you do.
we
What we do.
try
We have
our
our
best.
content that we do
Yeah.
make weekly. That's part of
Yeah.
it, so you can answer those questions. That's
We
what
try
someone.
to satisfy the
someone
audience.
I've
in
No,
heard-
that way.
it's shocking how much content you guys have when I was coming back to my music. It's like,
I don't even
holy
want to
shit.
talk about it.
Yeah, it's insane.
But like my feeling, at least with how things are going now, is that and what I'm hoping for in the part of the power shift and being able to have more ownership and being able to have more on the back end and everything as you're trying to grow and partnering up with companies is I think that we're gonna currently with where we stand, we have to be able to show, annoyingly to some degree, that we can do this television thing.
Yeah.
And so people will want to work with us more and believe in our online project that we want to do. That's the same exact stupid thing.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't think that's going to be forever, but I think in helping to get more networks and more executives and more producers, more writers, more showrunners to start understanding that what we do is exactly what they do, is be able to be like, hey, I've been doing this for years over here. Yeah, I'm playing in your field now. Can we freaking do stuff together finally? Because you
Yeah.
never want to otherwise.
Well, at least you
And I
have
hate
to.
that.
Well, at least you have to play the same format. You have to play like, oh, this is 22
Right.
minutes. This is you get it now. And what's nice is that when we were talking about season 2, we're like TV length. Let's just try TV length and
Let's just prove we can do literally TV.
Right.
I mean, and so it was one of those things where it's like, are people gonna sit around and watch it? It's like, I hope Netflix and Hulu did that groundwork because we kind of relying on
point. Yeah.
them first, priming a group of people to be
'Cause
used to
YouTube would
watching
do
things.
It's also just still the economics of it. It's just like you won't get the top showrunners and writers right now who are already. If you're already working in traditional media, it's going to take a lot.
Yeah,
to
that's
go-
the constant
to go,
problem.
to go backwards.
Yeah, but and that's the thing. It shouldn't be looked at as backwards.
Exactly.
But yes,
Exactly,
but
but economically,
of
that's
course,
what they see.
and
it
that's
as.
just the problem.
And then when they do, they always. And then it's like, what else is weird is like in a weird way, traditional media hurts online far more than online does because they have stuff like Tom Hanks does a thing for Yahoo.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks. It's terrible. Why? Because he's doing four HBO shows. Like he's doing the next like Band of Brothers. You think he's like really caring
still-
about this? They're fun
What was
hobbies.
that?
well,
Electric?
It's like an animated.
Electric
It's like,
City, whatever.
yeah, it's like a fun
But
hobby thing.
It's hobby
they do.
/ whatever you want to do, guys, because it's your free whatever. It's like this is that's not the way it's
They-
always going to
they
work.
don't
If anything,
understand
you
that
got to
it's
make something
an
that makes sense to
actual-
build an audience for yourself. Then do
Yeah.
that thing that's for
Yeah.
fun.
But that's the thing. Even they all don't understand that there's actually like something that works. There's actually like formulas, and there's actually things that the audience that you can build, or even if you don't have an audience that actually works online. There's like certain things that
Yeah.
you are smart out of the gate.
It's like
create.
No, absolutely. And it's the equivalent would be like, all right, guys, I've invented the electric guitar. Who was playing it? Now, these guys are pretty good, but hey, you, this old school, acoustic player, rip it on this electric guitar. And the guy's like, fine, here, I'll just make a half-assed album. All right, I'm gonna go back to doing what I usually do and making tons of money doing it. It's like that's not the
And they just
example that you wanna
squander the
go
money
to.
too.
Yeah,
Like, if we
yeah.
really saw the budgets, we'd all cry. Like the
H plus?
we
H plus 1 minute, like 57,000 1 minute shorts.
Oh, that's a good
That-
idea. That was
yeah.
a good idea back in 2003.
Like a camera in a parking lot. And I'm sure that budget was 7 times.
We'd all cry, and they don't understand how to do. They look at what we do, and if they actually really broke it down, they would say it's impossible. They would
Yeah.
actually say something like, "This is not possible.
yeah.
You can't." How many times have I even heard like, "Well, you can't even do something on television
Oh,
for less than
gosh, yeah.
$100,000, and
Yeah.
the absolute minimum on a crappy reality show on TV." And I'm like, "Give me $100,000,
Are you
and
kidding
I
me?
can do
Yeah.
it. I can do hours of content, like
Yeah.
that's high quality content that I wish was better quality, but I can get
Yeah.
it to a level that would be like, oh, that's pretty good." And it's not.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying. There's a bunch of pre-assumed notions in terms of how much things cost, how much it takes
Right.
to get things made, and this is the level of quality they're used to. And what's flipping everyone out is like, no, not anymore. Not if you do it this, not if you do it like this, not if you're smart about it this way. The fact is that traditional is overpriced in a world where there's a lot of supply, and by supply I mean just things that will entertain you online, like the Halo web series. That's $7.5 million. $7.5 million to make the Halo
more
web series.
per like we do in our breakdown. That's more per half hour than House of Cards was. It's like
Oh wow.
it's like insane.
At the same time, it's like, you're like, oh, okay, it's a big visual effects heavy thing, and I guess I can see it. But at the same time, it's like, come on.
There's a bunch of kids in a forest.
And it's still just a frustrating thing. I'll vent a little.
Yeah, go for
the
it.
frustrating thing, even with something like that, or there's so many back and forth. But even the YouTube originals and like all of these things that like you're putting people in to make. There's a big, obviously Halo's a huge franchise. It's a less risk or whatever, but all these people that got given all this money to make all this content that we all know, God, that was a lot of money, and what was the point? Or whether it's Yahoo giving a lot of money to Tom Hanks or whatever, while there's people out there like you, like us, like other peers that we have that have guaranteed viewership and know it'll be a success. It's not such a huge risk. It's just this mind-boggling thing.
Like Corridor, like the fact that like they have issues trying to get their like web series up. It's the same thing. It's like,
it's just,
are you kidding me?
Like,
they did the Halo movie.
Exactly, and they don't realize that. And that's what even first. We're not
like the easiest thing.
It isn't this selfish thing either, where it's like I don't want to do it. I want to do it all myself. No, I don't. Like I'm all about if there's someone that I like, whether it's a comedian or some person that I'm like, I'm a fan of this person. I think we can do great things together. Let's make a show together. Use our distribution and let's show everybody how this is done.
Yeah.
And instead, it's like, no, none of you can really do this. You got to do it yourself. Find a way to do it yourself. We'll do it over here, fail, and then get bought by a major media company anyway, just because of who we are, what our name is, and that we can spin our numbers in various ways.
Traditional media has such a support structure. Like when they talk about network notes and things like that, that's obviously has problems, but it's also like how that shit gets made.
Right.
And what happens is when these guys come into the web world, they don't have that structure anymore, and everybody's used to working that way, and that's also why you get the content that you get. It's like, like find this guy who's a staff writer on The Office now is the showrunner on this web series, and nobody's really watching what he's doing. He's he's a funny guy. It kind of goes through. The actors kind of dick around. The editor is the assistant, and then it just kind of like funnels through. It's like, here, cool. It's like that's cute. It's a web thing.
And maybe they tried to keep a lot of the money.
Now it's The Office web series. Yeah, they try to keep a lot of the money and so on.
No, I think that to some degree of like, even though we're all like, God, we could do this. It's all us. But like, even with what we're all doing, I think that we all wish that we did have more money, even just to have a better structure of what things are supposed to be in the sense of that hierarchy. There's a reason
some
why
oversight that gets lost in crap.
There is
a department in this moment.
Hierarchy like
I was
that.
actually going to ask about that with your experience for it, because we've done videos. I mean, either whether it was like student films or YouTube for so long, VJHS was the first like. We had people come in. We had a producer come in. We had like assistant directors, and it was very like you could talk about talk about what it's like. Because obviously we were like, this is nice, it's cool to have this support structure, and then we're also finding ways like, but there's certain elements of the support structure that we don't like or it doesn't fit in the way.
The biggest thing is how it slows you down.
Yeah.
And that.
It is. It's crazy when you're like literally two people that do absolutely everything, and then you're like, oh man, like I have to wait like 25 minutes for this thing that I could have shot 6 shots already. And like all of a sudden he's just like, because I can't touch the camera. Like it's just like. The weird union random stuff, but we were.
No. It wasn't that crazy. But even just the idea of like, sometimes I'd feel like we're lit.
Yeah,
and then it's like, well, and granted, sometimes later on I'll end up realizing, all right,
but there's diminishing returns, right?
So, the moment depending.
From full darkness to light is probably the most gains you'll get from lighting. But then it's like you can keep tweaking and moving this and then it's like you'll get to a point. But if you're shooting 2 pages a day, sure, you can take that time.
I think that it's an evolution. You got to find the right people to work with inside the system. That at least for us, like. I want these professional people that really know what they're doing, and then there's a learning curve they go through working on something that has the low budgets that you need to move quicker, or you have a 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. world, that you get in that rhythm. And I don't know where that would be. But after a while, it got pretty fluid on the second season of MyMusic. It was you guess gotta find the right people.
We shared some people.
We did. Well,
Danielle and Scripty.
Mm-hmm.
Random.
It's bizarre.
But that's the thing, depending on what the roles are. But like for me, like I need a strong AD because I typically end up, if I'm not, I'm ADing and directing at the same time. Because that's kind of how it's always been. Like it's not a good place to be, and I'd rather someone else tell me when I got to speed up and etc. But it's always interesting because I remember after season 1 of MyMusic, where we had the bigger crew, and then we decided we're gonna shoot an old school sketch, and it was literally in our apartment, and I was holding the boom, and he was running the camera, and we were like having the time of our lives. Like it's just like this is so bizarre, but so it's both are fun, but they're totally different experiences.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and like I know like a VGHS with a bigger crew, and John has heard me talk his ear off with this crap, but I keep coming with really dumb, weird. I'm like,
No, some of them are
what
great.
about this? What about this? What about this? Okay, check it out. All right, guys. Last looks. Makeup goes in. They do the powder. What if the person doing the powder also did the slate? Because they're both in front of the camera. Like she could powder them up and then click the slate. Like what about that?
Because they're right there.
And then none of my stupid experiments would work. Like what if we just did tail slits today, guys?
Well, that one could work. Just like you'd have to convince a makeup person, the union makeup person, to slate and then fire the slate.
Well,
person.
then we came up with ideas like
the green screen apple box.
The green
screen.
screen
All apple boxes just be painted in the green screen
I think
color.
that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, you just leave an apple box in frame. It's like,
You always get rid of it.
it's just
It's easier to man. But then the other one's like all the prop guys should have like those little like it's not a full shopping cart, but like those little mini shopping carts you get at Trader Joe's, like a prop cart, and it's got like 3 C stands on it and all the props for the C, and it's rugged all-terrain wheels.
Oh,
so
in the
that
sense that they don't have to go all the way back to where they're.
but here's the rule. Like here's the basic rule. Anything you bring on set that needs to be able to be carried by one person. Every object needs to be accounted for by one person thing. So, i.e., if there's so much grip equipment that takes the 2 guys there 3 trips back and forth, no.
To be fair, most of this comes from the way we shoot action.
That's true.
It's like we're out in the middle of the forest, and it's like, where's that gun? It's like, oh, let's go back to base camp. It's like, why? Like,
I want my gun here.
Everybody have their
I don't
gun
understand.
on them.
Props are just always not there.
They're
Like I
never
don't,
there.
I don't understand.
I don't know how that works.
They're always
Yeah.
not there. And I also love coming to your set and looking around at certain things and then realizing, and then crew members telling me also, I'm like, but Howard is like, oh, we're gonna get rid of that later. Like the way that you guys shoot, you're like,
It's
oh,
so
we
different.
could just get rid of
So
that.
Oh, it's so
And
incredible.
and I'm like, I cannot
We
think
never
that way.
have
We
that.
can't do
We
that.
can't let
And
that
it's
go
like,
to
oh,
our
we put
mind.
this here because we
trust
just
me.
get rid of it.
To be
Yeah,
fair,
yeah.
we get punished for it later.
No, but at the same time. But here's the thing. It's a give and take because you're gaining at the time. But here's the one thing that I noticed.
Rather gain on set.
Because we had some moments, in especially this season where it was like time is running out, we gotta move, and then it was like we had some very seasoned people on set who had done much more work and had seen many more sets and many more shoots than any of us probably all combined. But the moment it was like, no, don't worry about it, it's VFX, they all were just like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
they all
Freddie-
looked at each other. Like, I was like, the moment I say, don't worry about it, it's a VFX shot, like they're just like, oh, okay. No, they can't say anything.
I remember you telling me that one time because somebody was like, because even though we're both pretty nice guys and we don't ever really scream at anybody on set, and occasionally we get like questions like, "What are you? Is that the right cover?" And then you were like, "Matt, just ask for a green screen."
Yeah.
And so the next time it happened, I was like, don't worry about it. Can we get a green screen here? Like, oh, it's an effect. Okay, just do whatever he said.
It's such a
like
good point.
they just
Oh
they
my
don't know.
God.
Okay,
Okay,
I was reading an Orson Welles interviews, and he had the same thing. Except
No
that
way.
what he said was just tell him it's a dream sequence.
Oh my god.
Yeah, director was like,
It doesn't
no.
make sense.
They
Why
were questioning,
are we flipping this?
Oh,
Yeah,
it's a dream sequence. Did you read the script? And you go, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, that's
Oh, it's a dream
it.
sequence. Everybody, it's fine. Just do what he says.
You guys are Orson Welles, man.
Did you experience, because when I feel like MyMusic and VGHS have a very similar absurdist feel sometimes, and things happen that are like ridiculous out of nowhere. Do you have certain people on your set that would question like the absurdity of
All of
moments?
episode 5 of The Robot.
Every
single like, are you kidding? The first day on set.
that was my favorite thing. That opening when all of a sudden we're with them and like it's like go I was like, this is like the greatest thing I've ever seen.
I mean, to the point that we were questioning ourselves. Like, we were putting shot by him, like, Freddie, what
I thought it was
what
genius.
the fuck are we
Isn't
filming
that,
right
isn't
now?
that like season 5 we do that maybe?
Well, the moment it was like I saw Clint wearing the half skirt and the white pants.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow.
And Brian comes in and like slaps his like naked thighs and it's like, yeah, I pumped these nerds. I just like looked at Freddie. I was like, it's too late, man. Like,
This train's rolling, man. This train ain't got no brakes, man.
yeah, no, we definitely got that a lot. Yeah.
Oh, anything with the cat too. There were so many like, oh, you should cover the cat like this, and like it's like, it's gonna be, we're doing a green screen element for that. And like, oh, okay. I'm like, and then Matt, are we? I'm like, no. Like, no, we got the coverage.
Like, can Milk please be in that backpack while he's eating the bananas and farting?
Yeah,
Like,
weird,
and,
just weird things.
And just getting really like not defensive, but just getting like, yeah, there's milk in that backpack. Can you just please put milk in that backpack? He's gonna eat it. I don't get why is there a question about this? Like, and then you hear yourself what you're saying. You're like, no wonder everybody thinks I'm a fucking idiot. like how can you not
That's
be
like,
on?
and that's like the end of the day too. Like you can't, like for us, because we're kind of dopes and idiots. We can't just. It's just like we have yet to shake that, especially with newer crew members.
Yeah.
When you're just like, there's just this moment where they're like, who are these idiots? Like Matt and I are walking around barefoot on set because Matt has a weird foot problem, and and like I like being
That
barefoot.
I love to talk about.
I love to talk about it. Hey, you guys want to talk about it?
but I remember being like, man, these guys just look at us and they're just like, who are these jokers?
Well, that's why I don't understand how Des is the complete opposite. And I remember you telling me in film school you hired a guy as a friend.
Yeah.
Just for the first day
amazing.
Just for the first day of filming, you could fire him.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I wish.
Just to
I
get
You
would-
wanted to
scared?
run that set that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Just let everyone
Wow.
know because you don't know, especially when you're.
Well,
in
he was
film
at USC film. Yeah, USC film school is like
USC Film School.
everybody's working for you.
I thought I had a little bit of a clue about what was going on. I was like, I read a couple books, I watched a bunch of movies. Now I'm in a decent school. But yeah, I heard that from some other kid. There's some grad student. Like I heard him telling that story orientation weekend. He's like, yeah, man, so I fucking fired this guy, and everyone was like, okay.
Right, and that's the thing.
right.
I
I was
hate
like,
that.
Scott,
People want that
that's
stuff.
what I'm
You
doing.
ever see the footage of that you showed me of Quentin Tarantino on the set of Django Unchained?
Yeah.
Where he has like his whole crew there, and he's kind of yelling at them, but then he's like, "Let's remember," and he makes the whole crew say that we get to make movies for a living, like something like that.
Because we all
love movies, right?
It's just like those types of things that it's just so funny that like all the things as a director and as a producer that you need to do. It's like children. You're like
is.
literally.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
is.
all your kids, and you have to keep them happy in these various ways, and get behind the scenes conversations that they don't
Oh
know
no,
that
there's
you're
so
having.
much like, okay, this person. Oh, there's a little bit of drama here. Okay, let's smooth this out right now. And then you're just like,
Everyone tells me that the set of season 2 of MyMusic was like high school. Everyone kept things from me all the time.
Dude, we had the exact same
And
thing.
I
hated that.
Yeah, and I find things
I
out, and they're
wanna
like, you
know.
don't know what's going on. All right, hear a little thing in the corner of my ear from like some of the assistants in the departments that are gossiping a little bit. Then I'm like, what is going on? Like, what kind of harassment happened back there?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, why is no one telling me
we
this?
were having like it was near the end of the shoot, but we went to Father's office and got burgers with like a bunch of camera guys, and all of a sudden they were like, oh yeah, and then she like banged him, and then like, oh, there's that whole fight, and that's why the makeup wasn't there that day. It's like, that's why the makeup wasn't there. And there's like so much going on, and then like I felt really like I don't want to direct. Why was I not having all this fun? Like,
They don't tell you anything.
Yeah,
The
like
makeup
there's all
department-
this like
our makeup
fun
department-
interactions going on.
Our makeup department has been pitching for now 2 seasons, being like they want like to do like a documentary in the makeup room of
my
my
gosh.
music. And in general, how interesting that would be, especially as an ancillary piece of content. Like that's genius. But then when I pry a little further, like, wait a second, actually,
Why?
maybe no sound.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I'm
Right,
like,
because everybody spills.
who knows what the hell is
everything
going on?
there.
What they're saying about me? Like, God
Well,
knows
then you
what's
realize
going
that
on.
everybody's job is like you're as a director, you're like, oh, you're treating everybody like children,
But
kind of
their
actors like
job-
children. But then you realize everybody else on set's job is treat Matt and Freddie like children, like
I know!
like
That's so funny.
protect
Put them
the
on the
directors
pedestal.
from
Funny.
everything.
Well, I've been saying those things that I say it all the time. I was joking a lot about it because one of the times, oh God, I'm remembering all these little things now where we would always forget there was a way we had to shoot talking heads specifically because we have 2 different angles, and if we were doing an end slate though where they're talking to camera for the end, it was a different setup. Like they're going to look in one camera then the other, and the camera team needed to know when we were doing an end slate when we weren't. And so sometimes people would forget. So as I would walk by, I would sometimes tell the camera team like, oh, we're doing an end slate next. Then the AD went in to tell them doing an end slate. The reaction was, we already know. And then I found out that they knew from the DP who already told them before I told them. But when I told them, they're like, oh yeah.
Good stuff. Freddie tried to do all end slates one day.
yeah.
Had a-
I-
failed experiment.
Des
but-
was not on that board, that ship. I'll give him credit on that. I was
But
like, yeah, let's give Freddie a try. Des was like,
I
don't do
was-
it.
But you can only push the envelope of filmmaking if you're willing to tear some envelopes. Anyway, but well, here's the key that we figured out, right? Because I got a bro on the cast, and Jimmy. And this is like, nobody who was working on VHS.
No,
turn it
nobody
down.
talk about
Nobody
this.
talk about this. But Jimmy's like my hookup in terms of like the pulse of everything. So like at lunch, I
Right,
pull myself,
right.
Jimmy, what do I need to know? He's like, okay, this. I'm like,
So
all right,
and so's
cool.
upset
But it was
because
good.
you did this.
No, but it was
Right,
good because I was
right.
able. But it was good because
No,
we were
yeah.
able to make a couple decisions that
Yep.
we had no insight on.
Let somebody out earlier, get their coverage
or
out,
whatever it
or
was, yeah,
whatever,
to just be like, okay, you know what?
Just treat them
We need to
differently.
change this. We'll change
Yeah.
it. And like we
Never speak to them ever.
Fire them.
Yeah,
Jimmy's like, you should fire this guy, Freddie. Jimmy's just like using you.
How do you know Jimmy can be
Yeah,
in the
you realize,
whole
oh yeah, Jimmy's just a master manipulator.
I'm getting played.
Yeah, I think that guy who has some lines, you should just give them to me. 'Cause, and then you should probably fire that guy who made fun of me.
3/4 of his dialogue was never written. Like it's
No, but I will say though, we definitely had one day there's just these 2 extras who were just dicks to everybody.
Yeah.
And like everyone kept us isolated from this. And
Because
then like
breakfast, because they didn't get pancakes or
Some
something
crazy
stupid
thing.
like that.
Extras.
So
Do
they
you
were
guys
just
work
trying
on-
to blow the set apart, you know.
And
Over
so,
pancakes.
so everyone's like, everyone's kind of just weirded out, and I'm like, Jimmy, what's up? And he's like, so there's this person, like they're over there. But he told me the whole story. I'm like, why? What? So I went up. I'm like, AD. I'm like, who are these guys? They're done. Fire them. They're gone. Also, call the casting agency. They don't work again. Like, go burn
To
them.
be fair, there were some pretty good fucking pancakes.
And they heard about that.
I
Did you guys work with a lot of
empathize.
extras on? It's pretty contained, but it feels like
It was pretty contained, but yeah, depending on the scene, we techno dubstep rave a lot, so there's typically
Yeah, that's
giant
right.
rave scenes, and we
People
went to a
dancing.
school this time, so we had to fill a classroom. But
yeah.
we ended up a lot. I wonder if you guys. We ended up with a lot of fans that ended up coming
Yeah,
and ended up
yeah,
being
you guys
extras.
those were way
too,
better
right?
than extras.
Way
We did a lot of
better.
extras.
That's like the way to go, and like some of the,
extras are crazy.
yes, and they are. The one time we had to really just go full extras. You're always happy when they're normal, and there's always a
Yeah.
few that are weirdos. And on top of that, they start stalking, and like they
Yep.
show up later, and they email you, and when they and like, oh, there's one extra. Oh, there's one extra.
Yeah.
It's insane. We had this one. There was this one extra during one of the Grand Theft Autorium scenes. Is when Jimmy, whatever, has his homework. But like, I would like tell Jimmy something. I start walking away. She's like, "Excuse me." I'd be like, "Yeah." She's like, "So like, what? So like, what's my character?" And like, what am I doing in the
God.
scene? And I was just like, I mean, just you're watching the game and just like celebrate. Okay, and then cut. And then next time, literally, I would talk to Jimmy. I'd be like, "All right, let's." And she's like, Matt, excuse me.
Motivation.
Yeah, like this time though, like I was playing like I was like who like just cheer. It was insane. And then eventually I was like, you just gotta move her to
Like, did they even
Like,
did
they
they
choose
choose
what
each
email?
person you're gonna go to and like give them
Yeah.
each individual
They probably do.
motivation? Like,
There was an
She got
extra-
angry when then one time I was kind of like just really cheered. She's like, you told me that last time.
Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
What? I was like, that's all you need to do.
But
Goodbye.
there was an extra that was always the wrong. His timing was off all the time. Like he needed to cheer and kept cheering too early. and the footage is really funny because like in mid dialogue, all of a sudden he turns around by himself and starts cheering, having 3 straight.
Oh,
takes.
that's brilliant.
And it seemed a little off, so I'm like, all right, whatever. I gotta just get this. He's in coverage. I can't replace him now.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, there's and it's one of those things where you don't again as like that higher level, everyone insulates you from all of it.
And you can get whatever you want. And that's the other odd thing that I don't do it, but I think all the time because I know I've been around other sets, and sometimes you see directors that are like
they
that.
make sure they have all
but
the
it's so
stuff
like
they want.
it's just so funny where I talk about where you'll hear people say things like you see a list of what's some crafty preferences. Maybe we can make it work. If I ask for something. Like it's gonna be there, and it's a weird thing to think about. It's
I'm
like
still
I could
totally
literally.
uncomfortable with it.
I don't know. I don't do it. I would never. I don't
Yeah.
even want to do it. But it's like I literally, and it's here and there. I'm like I could stop the whole thing right now. And I sometimes feel that way on a stressful day where I'm like, if I decided we're just stopping, we would stop.
Everybody stop!
we would
I want
stop.
a burger. Just bring me a bacon burger, and everybody starting to
And
I'm
it would
done.
happen. It would actually happen. It's a weird thing in our
Stop.
society.
Well, because
if you're directing something, it's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Madness.
And so with all that said, can you really blame other people for treating us like children? Because that's what it is. You're
Yeah.
a 2-year-old. You're a temperamental 2-year-old, and you will get your way whether or not you like. And everyone's going.
And everyone's
over this.
aware of it too. So it's
Yeah.
like even when maybe you're wrong sometimes, and you're like, well, and now they're like, crap, he doesn't know what he's doing with this scene.
When you
but,
literally think about that type of thing, because I remember being like an intern and a PA on like television shows
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
They like, and it's when it comes to talent, like directors are one thing, but talent, like
That's a whole
talent,
other thing,
is a
yeah.
whole other world of
Yeah.
the babying that
my
happens.
God, yeah.
And you wonder, and it's like everybody goes, I don't understand why like Miley Cyrus, Justin Bieber, like why do they become the people that they do? And it's like, well, when you literally grow up in an environment where you are the king, you are Joffrey, you are literally like, everybody is like bowing to you at every moment, doesn't treat you like a normal human being. Like, and you get anything you want, and you're taught that you're supposed to tell them everything you want, and it's just like they don't know how to act in society anymore.
Yeah, not to get into the controversial aspect of bullying, but there's something to be said about knowing your place in the universe.
I couldn't agree more.
Just facing the reality that you're just a single person in a massive machine.
Yep.
And yeah, when you grow up with literally every single person, you live in a fake world full of people who do everything you want, will be completely gentle around you, and just will. And then you just go and pretend to be another person, and then a ton of money shows up. Like, can you imagine that for like from the ages of 3? Like, I'd probably be a serial killer. Like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
there's
it's
no way
healthy
I'd be
to
a
get
normal
knocked
person.
around.
And you could get away with it.
And I could get away with it. They'd be like, oh, but he was really good in the new sitcom.
Who was the? I forget. Who's the comedian that did a bit about like, but he could dance. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's just like somehow like the fact that someone can dance just forgives everything.
If you're talented, you can get away with a lot.
Well, no, but like specifically, they brought out like dancing things. Like Chris Brown's like beat the hell out of Rihanna. It's like, yeah, but he can dance.
That's
You know, it's like that
moonwalk, man. He can moonwalk. That's, you know,
That's like Michael Jackson. It's like, yeah, but he could dance. It's like, what is it about dancing? And then all of a sudden absolves you from all of your sins.
So when are we taking dance classes?
That's what I was
that's how you do
saying.
it.
I actually have this idea. It's one of those ideas that will never come to fruition. But I'm like, if there's ever like a 2-week hiatus or a break where it just like can disappear for a while, it's like there's something to be said for 2 weeks intensively, like just learning how to just be a motherfucking good ass dancer. Like
ballroom
Yeah, like
dancing.
Michael
no,
take
not
more
ballroom
than
dancing.
2
What do you
weeks.
want?
No, but hold on. But I would say 2 weeks, you could certainly go from having no moves whatsoever
Yep.
to having at least
One.
some
You could
coordination.
walk
Which
out
is
with
probably
one
all
good
of us. It's just like
This is
somehow
No, I
no
disagree,
talent
Des. I disagree.
whatsoever.
14 days intensive
I
dance
don't know.
study.
I feel
with
like
the-
some of these
Just-
guys who can dance have been doing it for a
No,
very
don't get me
long
wrong.
time.
I'm not
no,
saying
no.
that you're going to go out and just crank a moonwalk.
I'm understanding what
but
he's saying because I have no ability to do even one move. So like 14
It'd be good
days
use
intensive, I
in
could maybe
videos for you, I
move.
think.
Well,
There's a whole library of videos if you can dance even a little.
All Freddie wants to do is then just come back 2 weeks later and go to like a morning meeting. And be like, guys, this way.
I kind of want to fund this experiment now.
It's like, whoa, dang,
Pretty
Freddie
wet.
can dance. I got shot a guy in the way. It's like, yeah, but you can dance. Well, because dance is always one of those funny things too, where it's
How would
like
you shoot a
it is
guy?
the most like. Is like the most attractive thing ever, right? It's like the dudes who can dance are just like, yeah, that's attractive, right? But somehow at the same time, it's also the number one thing that's like, if you went to your dad and your dad, I want to take dance lessons, it's like, get out, you're not my son, right? It's like on one hand, the one thing that can get you, the ladies, is the one thing your dad is like,
It is interesting when you think about that, and the thought of like, dancing and like you being able to dance is something that like you're expected as a guy to know. You need to go to a school dance or something, unless you were me growing up so religious and odd. But didn't go to a single dance my whole life. But when you do, and it's always that worry, and they make TV shows about the stress of dancing. Well, you're right. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like,
It's true.
what are
If
supposed
you want kids in high school, if you want to get banged in college, tell you what, unless you really think you're gonna be a quarterback,
Listen,
then
say this
acoustic
slowly.
guitar.
yeah,
Matt. You gotta slow this
slowly.
down.
Unless you
Enunciate.
think-
Very slowly.
Unless you think you're going to be a quarterback in the pros instead of doing football, dance.
Yep.
Right? Unless you're
You'll
going to be on that
suffer.
college team, what's the point of, like, maybe. But,
Like-
man, I'll tell you what, you go to a college dance, like college party, and
then
can,
you
like,
could
bust
bust a
out
couple moves.
Chris Brown moves and not do the other parts of Chris Brown. Like,
Yeah,
you'll
right.
be
Just the moves.
fine with just the moves.
You're gonna suffer for it in high school. You will suffer for it.
But it's worth
that-
it. You can
no,
talk
no,
to
no.
any girl you
But
want
that-
because it's like you
You'd
want to
be pretty
dance,
cool in
like,
high
and then
school
you're
if you had
set.
some sick moves.
Well, but
Yeah, it's true.
No, if you had that,
exactly. If you had the
but
right
Actually,
attitude.
it's a good point. Breakdancing. If you're like, it's a specific type of
If you can
dance.
spin it on your head, people will like you.
That's the specific thing. You have to be super good at breakdancing.
Yeah.
There's like
Yeah.
there's an exact
That's a
line.
threshold.
There's
There's a
an
line
exact
about
line where
humiliating
it's like,
yourself.
what the hell is this kid doing? To that's the coolest kid I've ever seen. And it's like a single moment where that happens. Where I was like, yeah, if
There
you're like
is-
pretty
yeah.
good at salsa, you probably still impress people. They'd be like, I can't do that. That's pretty cool.
It's like, wow, that's
exotic.
very
it's cool.
exotic.
There's no
and
gray.
Gray area.
There's no gray area on
From horrible
breakdancing.
to amazing.
It's always awkward when there's like a guy who busts out breakdancing. You're like, what the hell is he doing?
Oh, it's so
Like, is he having a seizure? Guys, give him some space. Oh no,
I go to
just be
breakdancing
boying.
places all the time.
Yeah, Matt's
When I ever
Matt's big into the battle scene down in Southern California. You usually see him
Nice.
lurking in the back, reporting on underground blogs.
Who's up tonight?
K-Rad and Jay Dizzle. This is a big one.
Anyone want to
This is a
listen
big
to Simpsons on my tape? We can dance.
one. Oh man. I think we've reached the end.
Sorry, we didn't
of
do a break.
very-
This was like the most like nonsense.
Yeah, we just started.
We
in
usually
a
do a 30-minute
crank.
break.
We usually break in the middle at some point. We'll add one in at some point. But we've come to the end of
Oh,
a very
I know.
spirited hour
too
covering
bad. That was fun.
quite
That
a
was
bit.
fun.
Yeah, just
we
good
need you guys
talking.
back on. Yeah.
Web
I want to hear
history.
more weird Disney
Oh, Disney?
stories.
We can have two other podcasts: the Disney podcast, the Web History podcast.
But I think we covered a lot of ground with you guys. I don't know. I'm just saying. That was,
Yeah, I don't know
that was
how
fun.
one thing led to
I
another.
don't know either.
It was a. It
We
was a-
started with Natazu and ended up over here.
Oh yeah.
Not the zoo.
Oh man. So our guests tonight, Benny and Rafi Fine, they have a couple of series. They got a whole bunch of series. Excuse me.
React.
Kids React, which by the way, just apropos of nothing. Yes, by the way, you sent an email asking when the timing.
But dude,
for
they're
me-
like shooting in a few days. I like booked There's like a lot of YouTube stars.
If you want me there, just let me know.
I will let
Okay?
you know.
Wait, Freddie.
What's
Okay.
the best way? I try every single way.
You have my phone? You
I
have my phone
texted
number?
you.
He doesn't respond to us.
No.
Anyway, it's okay.
I'll give you. Okay. We'll talk after this.
I want to watch you watch videos, Freddie.
We got Kids React. You guys have MyMusic Season 2 all
Every Tuesday,
on,
every
out-
Tuesday.
Tuesday out now on the YouTube channel, which
Yeah.
is.
YouTube.com/The Fine Bros. You got to watch episode 6 to see.
That's right.
Freddie.
I was in episode 6, just killing it as an EDM DJ with an incredible facial
Some
prosthetic.
sick tracks,
It's
man.
just the raddest beats, dropping it nonstop. What are you guys' Twitters?
At the Fine Bros.
Wow,
We
there you
share
go.
it.
Boom.
There
Entity.
you go. There you go. Well,
Awesome, guys.
Thanks a bunch for coming.
Yeah,
out.
it's a pleasure.
Thanks for
Yeah.
having
It was
us.
good times.
Yeah, love seeing your space, the studio, everything. You guys are amazing.
yeah,
thank
you
you
guys
too.
are great. We're going to have you on again. There's way too much stuff that we still need to cover. Thanks very much for coming down. And, well, I'm Freddie,
I'm Matt.
And I'm Dez.
and we'll talk to you guys later.